on, the global human rights watchdog, the World Organization Against Torture, has said that the torture by Belarusian authorities may amount to a crime against humanity. A brutal government crackdown shortly after the election resulted in the detention of nearly 7,000 people. At least 3 people have been killed in the protests and hundreds of others have been hurt by police aggressively dispersing peaceful demonstrators with rubber bullets, clubs and stun grenades. 58 political prisoners remain in custody, the World Organization Against Torture and the WION Human Rights Center said. Torture remains rife against protesters who are in police stations across Belarus. Authorities have failed to open investigations and are threatening victims with reprisals, the human rights experts said.
There are more than 500 cases and likely even many more, because it's only the tip of the iceberg of people coming forward with their stories. I think the key issue here is that what we've seen after the election unfolding is systematic, planned and intentional torture used by the state. So we're not talking about the bad apple in a system, but we see clear evidence of a planned and organized type of violence, a policy of cruelty, you could call it.
It further termed the happenings in Belarus as systematic, planned and intentional torture used by the state. Terming the situation as a crime against humanity, the group called for international attention. The World Organization Against Torture urged the UN Human Rights Council to set up monitoring of the crisis urgently. Demonstrations continue against the disputed President Alexander Lukashenko, who retained power after a recent poll which many deemed rigged.
The United Nations Human Rights Council has to appoint, like they did in other countries, a commission of inquiry who can do this work. Obviously, it's not easy to have those documents, but it is clear that something like this doesn't happen just like this. It happens because there's a plan, it happens because there are orders, it happens because people put their creativity to cruelty. And I think it is clear, especially since this is allowed to happen with impunity, that the line of responsibility, legally speaking, goes up to the highest level of government.
Lukashenko, who has been in power for 26 years, vowed that he would never stand down despite weeks of mass protests against his rule. He has alleged foreign powers are behind the protests and denies that the vote was rigged.